10th at 6:02 in the evening. First order of business would be the minutes of September the 11th, 2023 and September 18, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of September the 11th? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 11, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Who made the second, please, was that Mr. Donovan? Thank you.
Yeah.
Should I abstain?
No.
In that case? There was something in there about that one.
Yeah. Now we have the minutes of September the 18th, and just Tom wasn't here last time, one of the times. Our city clerk actually has made the statement that it is okay if he was not here during the meeting, but you're here to look at the minutes and you can vote on that. It is a legal way to do it. So we've been not doing that, but she was just forced to go ahead and approve the minutes every time. Okay, we have the minutes of September 18, 2023, special board meeting. If you all remember, I'm going to say that this was kind of a document go ahead for two developers that was looking at a subdivision and some clarifications. And if I have read these three times, it looks like everything that was talked about that evening is in this. Clarified that those developers have been given the go-ahead to proceed with, which they have to do their stormwater analysis, and that was the next phase. And the second part of that was, if the stormwater analysis is approved by, or basically designed by their engineers, approved by Trans Systems, then they could start construction on, like in phases of building houses and getting building permits based upon the stormwater building of the stormwater. Is everybody okay with the way this is written? Hearing no objections, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September the 18th, 2023.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of September 18th.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Moving to old business, we have one of our commissioners that will be here about 10 minutes or so they'll just fall in as we move on. Under old business, item A, as a public hearing on RV parks. This has been continued. I'd entertain a motion to open public hearing on RV parks for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We're now again in public hearing on our RV park discussion. Tim, please.
All right. I was looking at my GIS map. We did rezone that property to CMP that we're tailoring this ordinance for, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it has been rezoned to CMP.
Okay,
Yes,
I just wanted to make sure something just popped up in my head. Okay, in your guys' packets, you should have received the most recent updated proposed language for a RV park. Last time we had discussed, you guys wanted more specific information in there. I was able to sit down with Mike to iron that out, and I believe we got that information in there that you guys were looking for. Everything that's highlighted in yellow is what is new or being proposed. I know we had talked about being specific on the pads, whether they be concrete or asphalt, the thickness, the width, the length. The water supply, we had added the stormwater plan requirement. As you all know, that whenever a commercial project goes before, comes to staff and goes before planning and zoning, we require a stormwater plan to be submitted and approved, and that's part of the site plan approval. This particular developer submitted their stormwater plan to the city. It's currently under review through Trans Systems. We talked about the streets, the type, the fire protection, the fire hydrants at each entrance, 6-inch minimum supply line diameter, the setbacks. I think the original for the sidewalk, we had 3 feet in there. We changed it to 5 feet just to match what our city code currently states. And then also for ADA accessibility purposes. And then we also talked about storm sewer. That should be not sanitary, but storm shelter. I'll check that title. I believe that's right out of the book, but it should be like storm shelter. In there, we had some guidelines in the original document as far as the square footage of a storm shelter. But looking through the ICC codes, there's an actual book that's highlighted per design for storm shelters. Rather than try to put all the specifics in there, just basically reference that storm shelter book and use that as our guideline for storm shelters. And then we also talked about the limited stay for a travel trailer park. Mike wanted to add, or you guys wanted to add, language in there stating that once they leave, they have to be gone for a period of time in order to come back. Any questions?
There's just, I'll let the board talk, but under stormwater management up towards the center, as I was reading that, I know that was just taken out of some of our other codes, but I think you could probably cut that off where it says must be prepared by a licensed civil engineer, and that would just be it, because then it talks about C1 commercial, and that's not what we're talking
So
about.
scratch out must be prepared by.
No, leave that in.
Okay.
But where it says except in C1 Central
Okay.
Commercial District, you can take that out.
All right.
So after the word civil engineer, just a period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a period.
Jog my memory, Mike, how we came up with they could stay 31 days. Isn't Wall State Park 15?
You're correct, they are 15. We came up with the 31 days because that's what our city attorney suggested.
Yeah.
No, and it can be less, okay? As all I'm saying is you limited it to 31 days, no more than. And the reason for that was, on his side, was because if someone stays there long, properties already applied for a CIP district there, and that's the only council where at present on. So CIP district over the 31 days, or they cannot have the district. So basically, the bottom line was limited it to that, no more than that. So it can always be less, but that was his suggestion. Is there anything else that would be that district besides this? That the CID will be, if the CID, when they apply for that, they actually have a map of the district that's included within that CID district, which is just their property basically. So that's where the owners of that property will actually impose the sales tax. I'm assuming. I think it's going to say sales tax.
Yeah, there's some future development that would create sales tax.
In that, that's what they're trying to do. But they impose a CID district on their property and once it's sales tax. So that money that they accumulate on themselves would only be used within that box. Okay? That's all they can use. That's the only place it can go is right into that box for use.
this district wouldn't ever apply for this. Other than that one.
You know, what they're looking at,
I was just talking about the rule of you can't live there. You know,
well,
because you were saying you're imposing it not on the use, but you're imposing it on the district. So I just, anything else in that district is what I'm asking.
yeah, at some point in time, because this is under conditional use permits.
Yeah.
So once all this is doing is set the parameters for the codes and rules for the city side. Once those individuals decide that they want to build the RV park there, then they've got to come to this board and ask for a conditional use permit to do an RV park in that area that they designate. And if the board will then make a recommendation to council, and council will give the final okay or not on that. Once that particular owner leaves or sells the property, the next owner will have to apply for a conditional use permit also. Because the conditional use permit goes with the original owner.
I understand that. So I guess the question is, all streets within the recreational camp district should be asphalt or concrete. I guess the question I've got is there any standard to that?
Not in here. It's not imposed in this, what you're seeing, no. That's up to you all if you want to do that.
No, I don't know. Just asking the question.
Yeah.
How many acres is it?
5 acre minimum
Yeah.
is what an RV park is required to have.
I guess.
It's more than 5 acres. I want to say it's like the whole project itself is like 25 acres or, I don't know.
Okay,
off the
so
top.
I'm just going to hypothetical. So you go down the road, there's no requirement relative to this, these roads. There's no standard, at least.
Are you talking about the roads within the park or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's private development. The entrance is MoDOT right away. So, what they do as far as, how they design it, I mean, we're putting guidelines in place that if it's an RV park, we're requiring concrete. We're looking at it from a safety standpoint, concrete or asphalt, the minimum width of the roads for fire truck, fire rescue to get in and out. So we are putting in place guidelines for that particular project. If that helps.
Mike just said, for instance, a conditional use, and so whatever reason doesn't work, those are somebody's roads for 25 acres, let's just say. And I didn't know whether in the process there was some kind of minimal standard, other than their definition. You have two, I guess, descriptive terms, which would be asphalt or concrete. It's large, but that's the way it is.
Yes.
And in terms of green space, in terms of any type of plantings or other than the water, there isn't anything that would be required for 25 acres. Is that right?
That's going to come under CMP.
Yeah, CMP, CMP district is more restrictive. So we have more control over the aesthetic portion, how it looks. I think in the CMP district, there is a requirement for shrubs, trees, and all that. I currently have the plans for this development, which I use these guidelines.
Well, I certainly would,
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to understand, maybe I'm just not getting it. Let's continue for a minute.
In the plants that I have looking at them, they do have, trees and shrubs and all that. So we're looking at all that stuff.
But where this comes in, this conditional use permit and these rules are just for RV parks in general.
Yes.
Okay. In this particular location, it's in a CMP district. So the CMP district has specific things that you have to do, like your shrubs or your grass, so many square feet or whatever, that's all in there. Okay, and it'll be the same as if an RV park, because right now, an RV park is only designated for CMP.
Correct.
That's the only place it's designated for. It's not designated for commercial areas, only CMP area
Correct.
at the present time.
And the reason why we went down that path is because you want to have more say over
Yeah,
the project.
and it is, CMP is more restrictive to certain things than commercial C2.
Yeah. Use a Dollar Tree, for example, when that building went up, you gotta have a certain percentage of brick veneer or stone pavement. You know, you gotta prove the color, the aesthetics of it, so.
So basically, maybe I'm making it more difficult, but, so somebody that wants to do an RV park, the only place they can go at the present time is gonna be CMP. Okay. So what you're gonna look at first is CMP requires these things. And then you're gonna come back and you're gonna look at the restrictions that, and the rules and regulations we put on RV parks to fit in that zone. So you're gonna have to fit all that. And to get back to George's question, I think, because one of the things that is not described out real deeply is the streets. I mean, we said that they had to be concrete or asphalt or hard surface, okay? But it doesn't say that they have to be like curbed and guttered, or they don't have to be X amount of feet wide, that type of thing.
No, I mean, those are gonna be maintained by,
Because
Property.
there are private streets
Yeah.
inside the,
Assumed it would
inside
not be
the,
current government, otherwise it would stay that.
you know, so you could, I guess, if you wanted, I mean, I'm just throwing this out, if you wanted to, you could say the street surface needs to be 24 foot wide enough for 2 lanes, for example. Or it has to be curb and gutter or whatever, if you really wanted to on that.
That's not
because it's
really
our
where I wasn't trying to go there, but,
Well, you see where I mean.
Yeah, no,
I'm just trying to,
yeah.
you could get a lot more descriptive if you really wanted to, but I think from what I remember, we was deciding that it's basically a private street. And we allow them, we didn't want it to be gravel. So we wanted it to be hard surface, but at that, we was gonna allow them to do what they needed to do. And they have to take into consideration, when they do that, they're gonna have to take into consideration the stormwater. So when that stormwater runs off of that concrete or asphalt, then where's it gonna go and how's it gonna be, you know, contained and maintained? You know, so there's a lot of pieces that whoever does one of these is gonna have to look at and do that. Because it is just all grass right now, and anything would be just grass. So the stormwater is gonna be a fairly healthy issue, something like that. And they'll have to have their site plan ready to go to the engineer to do that stormwater, so they know exactly what's gonna happen, so they can figure all that. Like, kind of make myself clear, am I kind of on the same page, on the
Yeah.
right page?
I understand you.
So, it's what, and like Tim said, Tim and I sat down and with the notes that I've taken and Tim had taken, we just went through and clarified each one of those comments that each one of you had brought up, and just put it in and researched it and put it in. So it's up for discussion. I mean, all of you, and if anybody, is anybody in the group? Okay. It's not here for this. Okay. Any of the board? John, you okay?
I'm good.
So those are the only 2 minor, got a note to myself to check the sanitary storms shelter requirement, the title. And then you said remove put a period after the civil engineer. That's it. For stormwater management.
You okay, George?
Yeah,
With
no,
everything?
I'm good, yeah.
Tom? George close that. That's all right. Debbie, you're okay. Okay. I know, I can tell you that council wants this quick, like, not next council meeting, but the next one, but that's fine. But I want to see it in ordinance draft form before it goes to council.
Okay. Now, with that being said, can I put it in ordinance form and shoot it to you guys in ordinance form? And if you guys are okay with it, give it to Shelley. I don't want to have to wait.
I know Shelley's gonna be gone, and I know Shelley's gonna put it, am I not correct? She's gonna put it in ordinance form. I wanna see it after she does it.
Yeah, I want to get with her too because we got two different ordinances or changes, and I want to see, can I just give it to her like this and she put it in ordinance forms, or do I need to put it in ordinance form?
You can just make the changes we just talked about, give it to her, put it in
Okay.
ordinance form.
Okay,
I mean, I don't need to see after you do.
okay, all right,
After you correct it, I believe you're gonna put the crayon, I'll catch it if it's not in there.
okay, all right.
That won't be a problem. And I know you're gonna put it there, so. But I do wanna see it completed in Shelley's ordinance form before it goes to council.
Okay,
And this board needs to see it too,
okay,
okay? And it'll just be a month later, so I can say.
okay.
Do you want it to come to us in email form, or are you saying?
No, I'd rather the paper form. I've had issues with that before, and it needs to be public information, so it needs to come to us and be discussed here. I mean, it could come to us to be reviewed, like in our packets, but we need to discuss it here and approve it. So it's what I really want to do. I want to just continue our public hearing till our next meeting. By that time, we'll have it in ordinance form. We'll bring it back, open the public hearing, review it, close it, and send our recommendation. Does that sound okay to everybody? Okay. So having said that, if there's no more questions from the board or anybody else, I entertain a motion to continue public hearing on this particular item till our next regular planning and zoning meeting.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion is second.
Wait a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Thank you, Tim, for working on that.
No, not a problem.
Good job.
Well, hopefully it'll all work out.
Faster than.
Yeah. Okay, item B is continuance of the public hearing for downtown district zoning. An entertain a motion to continue public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We're now in continued public hearing on C1 Central Commercial District. Tim, please.
All right, this is another proposed amendment to the Article 17. As you all know, City Council wanted us to look at prohibiting first floor apartments in the downtown district. The only change to this was the square footage. Mike and I sat down on this, and I can't remember what article it was in, but basically we changed, I think it was 700 something.
750.
750 square feet to minimum 450 square feet to match a studio apartment. So that gives them wiggle room, saying you got a minimum, but you can also be 750, 800 feet square foot for apartment. And this is one of the pushes that council wanted us to get this to them so they can pass this ordinance and get it in place.
I thought they did not, I may be wrong, I thought they did not want apartments on the first floor.
They don't, but if you, in this ordinance, if you're the business owner, you can have one as long as it's in the back. So the front has to be your retail space. So, but, you know, like I think in this one particular case, one of the property owners has converted the whole entire first floor to an apartment, which if you follow the Main Street model, they encourage, you know, upper apartments and, maintain the first floor for retail or service type businesses. So this is just a model as far as our code to follow that example.
What are you gonna do about that one that's converted to the full?
I mean, technically, we can't do anything because other than inspect and make sure it's safe. I mean, there's nothing in the code that will prohibit him from doing that. And I already talked to him, and he said it's just temporary. So I would
So
say,
I'm a little confused about nothing in the code. How
Well, it's
about that?
grandfathered. Anybody who's doing it right now.
It's-
gonna be
it's
entitled to it
grandfathered,
As long as they
pretty much.
continue it. But if they sold the building, the next person would not be able to.
yeah,
So,
correct.
and anybody who's doing it should have fair notice that in fact the rules have changed. Or all the
Yes.
owners of the property, so that no one buys it, should be,
Yes.
everybody should know it's changed slightly.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that just a step further. In under R, it talks about that. It's what it is, it's gonna be a pre-existing non-conforming use. It means that anybody, that is living in the first floor, on the retail space and it is an apartment, will continue to be able to live there until they leave, okay? Pre-existing non-conforming use, as to our code says that if that particular residency is not occupied for a year, then after a year, it goes back to its original use, which is gonna be retail, or the new under exemptions, okay? It's gonna go back to that. But if they move out and somebody wants to move back in 6 months, they can do that under pre-existing non-conforming use, okay? Because it's under the year, okay?
And we can't change that.
We can't change that because that's what they converted it to prior to us changing this rule. Or looking at changing this rule, I guess I should say. So that's what it is. There has been, over time, some of those businesses where the owners have lived in the backside and, had a residence back there. But the front part of it was actually for either a service business or retail. So that has happened, but never like it is today in one particular one. Like Tim said, it was originally 750 square feet. We thought it should match the studio apartment size, which is 450. That's why we brought it down to that. So that's kind of a clarification of what's there.
And Tim, are there any single-family, this gets back to the map. Are there any single-family houses in this? Because these are very broad, this is when we started last time, and said, okay, it's First to 4th Street and then Locust to Pine.
I think there are some single-family homes in that
So how
district.
does this address that, or single-family houses now?
Well, this is mainly geared towards commercial buildings. But we had to identify, some of those commercial buildings are on streets where possible a single-family home is located.
I'm with you, I'm sure that everybody's looked at this, but it's an overlay. So if I had a single-family house in it, you're saying it would be on its face an exemption, because.
Well, a single-family structure is designed for residency. It's not designed for commercial retail or service industry business. So that single-family home, even though it's in this zone district, it still have to follow the guidelines of a single-family structure. If that makes any sense.
I know what you're intending. When you do an overlay, it will now say anything in this zone will be subject to this restriction. So, okay, I'm sure you run this by the city attorney, so no
Yeah.
problem, but that's.
Yeah, I mean,
Would it be like a good idea for us to put that in here, that saying that this does not apply to any single-family homes that are within this district? So we don't end up with like a home turning into a massage parlor or something weird going on?
let me see. Let me look at this real quick. So if you look at R, the first sentence, it says, I mean, I know what you're saying, but again, a single-family dwelling, duplexes, let's address single-family dwelling. That, a single-family dwelling, the whole sole purpose of that is for residency. So if anybody want to do anything outside of a single-family residency, I don't think they will be permitted to do that. Because, say if they go back to the conditional use permit, if they want to do like a dog grooming business out of their home, then they can get a conditional use permit. But the sole purpose of single-family dwelling is for residency.
I got you. Yeah.
So you can't
It
say, I'm going to turn that
starts with
single-family structure
uses,
into
and then it's single family.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Comments? Anybody in the audience? Seen that? Down the line. John, you okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I have a question about that single family home thing. If you have a single family home that's sitting in the middle of basically in the middle of the edge of the commercial district, right? That's what you're talking about? Okay, suppose a person, is that specific area zoned as a single family rather than as a commercial?
Well, it can overlap, like in this particular code right here, like if, you look at R, it says, it lists all the permitted uses. Like under R, it says single-family dwellings, duplexes, multi-family dwellings, a motel, hotel.
But we're talking about a commercial, zone area that's zoned commercial. And is a residence approved, okay to have in a commercial district?
There, we have some zone issues that allow single-family homes in it.
Now, suppose the single-family home person wants to turn his home into a commercial activity and not use it as a home anymore.
I would say they would have to go for the conditional use.
They'd have to have conditional use or change the zoning of that specific plot.
Yeah, but anytime you do a change of classification, it requires us to do an inspection. Like I said, the sole purpose of a single-family home is for residency. I don't think the board, it's not my decision, the board will have to make a determination whether or not they want to allow
That particular.
And it's that way in
home.
a lot of towns. There's a lot of towns that homes will turn into boutiques. I mean, you go look at those, they're everywhere in the commercial district, but they would have to be rezoned, right, Mike?
It wouldn't be
And then-
rezoned, they'd go under conditional use.
Conditional use permit, and then they would get to start paying
Well,
commercial
they get a
taxes.
business license and
Yeah, business license and,
change.
It'd be kind of like what we have in a certain extent where you have but let's just say, it's not retail, but like a daycare, for
Yeah.
example. Or a beauty shop, there's been some of those where you have a beauty shop. Or there's been where it's dog grooming, has been put into somebody's home.
Yes.
So we've done some of those.
So if they wanted to turn it into basically a commercial property, you could still allow, they would still be allowed to have maybe a studio apartment in the back of the building? It wouldn't be called a single-family home anymore?
Well, yeah,
I think you're
the chances of changing a residential district, an R1, R2, or R3, where you actually have a single family home and an R1, R2, or an R3, and changing that to a commercial property in the middle of a lot or something like that, in the middle of a block, is gonna be pretty much impossible. You aren't gonna do
I'm
that.
not thinking about within a residential district, but one that's along the road that is in a commercial district, but is in a single-family home use right now.
and she's talking about a home that's sitting in this commercial district.
Yeah, but
Because there are some homes in this map, within this map.
the only ones would be on the west side of the park. There's not any, am I correct, Tim? That would be the only ones that's in the C1.
Yeah.
Other than, I can't, I'd have to look at that map, because I don't know if that's not, C2 over there instead of C1.
Yeah.
Basically on Cherry Street.
Yeah.
You got that with you?
No.
Because you've,
No, I think majority of the properties in this was defined in this area are commercial buildings. I mean, if you
Locust
go,
Pine, Curtis Pine. Yeah, so those houses,
There's a couple by the
yeah,
Methodist
basically.
church.
So if you go from Locust to Pine, east to west, and from second to fourth, you're gonna pick up houses that are on the west side of Cherry Street, including Locker Insurance. And you're gonna pick up the funeral home, you're gonna pick up the Christian church, okay? But the two, well, actually, Ockers theirs is a retail or a service business. And the only house that's gonna be involved would be the one on the corner.
and that's like
Cherry.
a multi-family structure.
So, but it would come in a conditional use permit if anybody wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And not only would it be the house, because I can't hardly hear, but I think she was saying something about the backyard or something. Did I miss
Have
that?
an apartment in the back with retail in the front,
Yeah.
just like this shows.
Yeah, it'd be just like this.
Yeah, they would just have to get a
Fall
conditional
under
use
conditional
permit.
use.
Mm-hmm.
And they would get to start paying commercial tax.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah. I'm not that familiar with the configuration, but if there is that option, that question, you know, how would it work?
Yeah. The option is there.
It's something to think about.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chairman, may I please have your name for the minutes?
Margaret Hubbard.
Margaret Hubbard, thank you.
Okay, so, here again, there's no other questions from the board. I would like to see this in ordinance form too.
Okay.
Just like the other one. So here again, I'd like to entertain a motion from the board to continue public hearing to our next scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item C, it's bed and breakfast, conditional use permit for 104 East Prospect. Tim, please.
All right. In you guys' package, you should have received information from our previous meeting. Well, you didn't receive information from our previous meeting because we had a short turnaround. We just basically opened up the public hearing to continue it to actually take care of the business tonight. In this packet, you should have received information from the applicant, Derek Eddings, for 104 East Prospect. He has petitioned the city and the board to get a conditional use permit for a bed and breakfast VRBO type business here in Cameron. The city did post hearing in the paper and then also placed a sign out in the yard for public notice. So that's all been taken care of. In your package, you should have also received information, an email from Derek addressed to me stating his intentions for this project and also some photos of the actual property and as far as what he's wanting to accomplish. We did send our inspectors out there today to do an inspection. I believe there's some minor stuff that needs to be addressed, but nothing catastrophic. So he is in attendance to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, I entertain a motion from the board to continue public hearing on this conditional use permit.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Tom, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any questions from the board?
Well, this is probably a dumb question, but, you've probably answered this many times. So when people use their space for like Airbnb, which I have no problems with, do they pay a hotel tax? just like hotel rooms?
No, I think we talked about that last time. I thought we had decided no.
I don't understand why. It is exactly a hotel. It is exactly a hotel. So it makes no sense to me why it was good for the goose, it was good for the gander, is what my mom always used to say. And I have a home at Lake of the Ozarks, which that's been under heated debate, and they are going to start collecting their hotel tax. I mean,
We don't have a hotel tax in Canada.
I think
no kind of tax for hotels.
I think they've tried to put that on the ballot.
I knew they had tried to do, but I thought it was to increase it, but
Yeah, it's never succeeded.
I can't really answer the question, and I think I remember Patrick saying something about bed and breakfast and stuff, they don't do tax on that, and that's just a petty.
I can get clarification.
It's-
Well, I stated.
You know, I don't know.
I can get clarification and email
I
the
would like
board.
that, please.
Do you have a question? Or did you have a question?
No, just a statement. Back when the new pool was being built, a motel tax was looked at as an option to finance it. And what we were told in several meetings was that the reason that Cameron per se does not have a hotel motel tax is because 3 of the largest hotels are outside they're in a different county. They're not in Clinton County. It would be over there like by McDonald's and outside the county line. You have to have so many available hotel beds within that area to qualify for a hotel tax. So when they counted the beds, we didn't have that.
I do remember Patrick saying something similar to that
Sorry,
about the
that's
number of
incorrect.
beds. But I can
believe
get
it goes by
clarification.
the number of beds.
Yeah, I do remember him saying something like that.
Yeah, however, it's not anything to do with this, so. Okay, so, anybody else? Just, okay, so basically on this one, they have identified, okay, so you have a let me just back up. So you have a picture, I think, so, I remember, of basically the location.
So let me ask you about feedback while he's looking here. And it appears to me this might be a duplex. And have we had any conversation with the other building owner?
I did receive one call, and they just asked what was assigned in the yard for, but I never received any negative feedback regarding the publication or the sign in the yard.
Does the current petitioner own both?
He owns the whole property.
Okay.
Yep.
Just asking. Then you are the other side, and I assume you're in favor of it.
What?
So, okay, so you have the picture on page 10, and it shows the property in question. Then of course there's several pictures that we share.
Do you guys live next door?
He does. Two more. I have the house in the backyard too. On the corner.
On the south.
South
side.
side.
Correct. So I'll get you, if you have any comments or anything, I'm gonna get to that here in just a second.
Oh, sorry.
So in this, they have parking in the front, and they also are showing 2 parking spots in the back. Okay. Did you bring the conditional use permits that we've done with the other 2?
No, I was planning on getting that prepared, but we've been extremely busy, so I can get it worked up pretty quickly.
One was parking spaces.
Yes,
Number 2 was basically rules
yes,
of it that would be identifiable in the structure, so whoever.
yep, like 5 or less. It says something about like 5 or less or something about, If it exceeded 5 or more rooms, then you had to come back because it triggers additional requirements for this type of operation.
Limited the number of
Yeah.
rooms in the structure.
Tim, did you share those with the applicants?
No, I will. I can actually draft that ordinance and get it to you guys and also get them a copy. And that way everybody's on the same page.
Is what I want to do. I want to make it consistent across the board, so I don't want to make, the first one we started with, we had these rules. I want to continue those rules to everybody. And I just plain forgot to bring it. I remember it was 3.
Yeah, I got to pull up real quick. Okay, it was provide literature, it said the petitioner should at all times observe the following conditions. Provide literature to clients to locate and access the property. Provide 4 dedicated parking spots for their clients. If the business shall exceed the 1 livable room limit, the applicant must resubmit for a new conditional permit. That's the 5 or more. And this is the most recent one we did. Provide the visible address numbers, 525 apartment D on the property. At any time, if any of the above conditions are not met, notification will be made, and the conditional use permit automatically terminates.
Is there 5 of those? 5 total?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tim, could we just walk through them one more time so that they can also hear them? So one is you have to have a sign at your address, so it's visible to somebody.
Yes, that one, that particular stipulation was for fire and rescue.
Right. So what were the other 4? Just like to make sure that they understand what they're
Provide literature to clients to locate and access the property.
Okay, so
That way
so that they
somebody
know
will-
where to go, the concept there. Whatever.
And then the other was provide 4 dedicated parking spots for their clients. If the business shall exceed the 1 livable room limit, the applicants must resubmit for a new conditional permit. And then it was provide the visible address numbers 525 apartment D of the property. And the final one was at any time, if any of the above conditions are not met, notification will be made and the conditional use permit automatically terminates.
Yeah, it sounds like only 2 really apply. Maybe I'm not getting it.
Well,
One, you have to have a sign, and number 2, in this case, they need to tell their clients, give them a brochure up front somehow that they know how to get to this.
Yeah, I can try to find the other one that we did, the very first one that we did, because this one was a little bit different than the first one.
And you know, typically when you check into an Airbnb, you get an email from the owner with all of that information.
Well, I think it's pretty easy. I
Yes.
just don't want the applicant not to hear
Yes.
what it is that they're,
Well, it seems pretty self-explanatory, like, they have to have an
Applying
address.
for it.
I mean,
so.
they have an address anyway, so.
Correct. So I want to at least keep those 5 things that we have imposed on the others consistent
Yeah.
through. And just, so I'll just address this so you'll know.
I found the other one if you want me to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Provide literature to clients to locate and access the property. Provide adequate parking for their clients. Comply with the approved parking plan. If the business shall exceed the 5 rental room limit, the applicant must resubmit for a new conditional use permit. Provide visual address numbers of the property at any time. If any of the above conditions are not met, notification will be made and the conditional use permit automatically terminates.
Basically the same.
That one was a little bit tricky. Or complicated, I should say.
So those, we've had 2 or 3 bed and breakfasts that that's been approved. Okay, so the rules that he has just said is what we have imposed upon those applicants. Okay, and for the reasoning of, one was parking, so we don't have on-street parking. Okay, we want them off-street parking. So this one has, I think you could say 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So I'm going to ask this question because I don't go down, because I know there's an alley behind there, and I know that's what this says. So you live in the other side of the park? Who?
I'm sorry.
No, he doesn't,
He's not associated with this one. Okay, you guys. I'm all mixed up. So I know you live behind on the basically the alley back there that runs kind of by the north side.
I live on Prospect,
On Prospect.
but the alley,
Yeah. Is
there's 2
there a
parking
parking
spots.
space back there? He says they gravel a parking space back there for 2 cars. So we've got 4 cars worth of parking spaces for one apartment.
Right.
Okay, so, and in 2, I can see where that might be a needed thing on this particular one, because it has more than 1 bedroom, and the target is like for, like, let's just say a family reunion for the weekend, so a larger family would come in, and maybe, you know, the kids that are driving age or something like that, so you might need that extra parking space, 1 or 2 or 3, or somebody that's gonna stay for a week for a ball tournament, something of that nature. Okay, so you get the cars off the street, you get them off the grass. Okay, that's the purpose of that. The second, the address, we run into that issue of it not being an address where the particular person that actually rented it and really knew where to go. Okay, so that's why we put that in there. The address needs to be onto the house or where it's going to be, so as they drive up, they can visibly see that. Okay, they know where to go. The other thing was the rules. Here are the rules. Here's what we require. And, you know, it's just like myself. I've stayed in bed and breakfast. So normally when I go in, I mean, they'll sit down with you and they won't just give you a card. They'll sit down with you and they'll go through the card and say, you do this or, you know, or you're out. So we do that. We did the limited spaces because we've had a house which had more than 1 rental inside it. So we said, hey, you can't have any more than this 5. If you go more, then you have to come back and get approval to do that. So that's the reason for that. On a conditional use permit, a conditional use permit goes to the owner of the property. Okay, so at any time, if 2 things could happen, if they don't comply with the rules, okay, then that conditional use permit is pulled away and they can't do it anymore. Okay, or if they sell the property, for example, then the conditional use permit does not go with the new purchaser. Okay, so then the new purchaser would have to apply for the conditional use permit. That's the way that works. So, and it comes by public hearing, so we have public input of the neighbors or whatever. So that's kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing and why. The board have any more questions on this?
We're really talking about an Airbnb, not a bed and breakfast. And there's a pretty big difference. Because typically with Airbnb, you never see a person. It's, you check in with lockbox type deal. And so I don't have any problems.
Yeah, I did both. And, yeah, those.
The bed and breakfast.
You sit there. Well, then you get food there.
Breakfast provided because we might have to check.
That's the best part.
Well, it'll be a box of cornflakes.
it truly is gonna be an Airbnb. I'm not good at breakfast. Breakfast, no.
So it may not be the same, but it's kind of the same thing that we have to look at the rules for. So yeah.
That's our definition. That's where we're coming from. It's not discriminatory.
Yeah, it's not whether you get breakfast or lunch.
Yeah, it's definition.
Well,
Okay. So if board has no liquors, do you have any? So you're the 2 that's really here for that. Do you have any?
He's the owner, I'm the manager.
Are you okay? I mean, you understand. Everybody's on the same
I
page.
think all the stipulations you laid out were followed. I mean, we have them in place to follow.
Okay.
But like Debbie said, it's gonna be more of a punch the key code on the door that's changed, enter when it's ready.
And they typically have nice little cameras that tells if there's more than the people coming in that's on the lease, and it's the ones I've always done, and they're pretty strict.
Okay, so no other questions from anybody? Okay. Having said that, the board's okay? Okay, so I'm okay, then we'll close public hearing. That work okay? Okay, entertain a motion from the board to close public hearing.
I move to close public hearing. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Now in the public hearing, I entertain a motion from the board to make a recommendation to city council.
So moved.
Second.
Recommendation for.
Oh, yes, to approve it. I'm sorry.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor to make a recommendation to city council for approval of the bed and breakfast at 104 East Prospect Street.
Debbie Delvin.
I was gonna ask you second, thank you.
Glad you saw that. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
So get it in ordinance form, I can get it in ordinance form and send it to you guys to look at it, to make sure it's good, and then send it to the city council.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you that question. Do you want to see this in ordinance form, or are you on this one? I'm okay.
I'm
not
good
to.
with this one.
I'm okay with you putting it together and sending it to council.
I'll still send it to you guys to look at it.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm okay with it. Yes, sir.
So I had the inspection today, and there was a handful of things that we need to fix, which will be done by Friday. Do I just bring this back to you or who?
You can get with Michael, and Michael will get with me, and I've been working on this, still moving the process forward.
We'll have it done this week.
And also it has to go to city council for first and second and final reading. So city council meets on the first Monday and the third Monday of each month.
So Tim should have the ordinance finished for, it'll be next Monday, will be council meeting.
Shelley's gone, so it'll be.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a week after, it'll be the first of November one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our, city clerk is gone this week and had everything had to turn in today. So, I'm sorry about that. But it'll be completed by the end of November.
By the end of November.
Or the third week of November.
Yeah.
So we need to leave it just kind of like it is until it's all through that process.
Yes.
So you're more than welcome to come to the council meeting. So that'd be 6 o'clock on the first and third Monday. You're more welcome to come. As far as having any input on it, if you had any comments, you would need to make that in just public information right at the first of the meeting, because council will not ask the applicant any questions. They'll go off of our what we recommend. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Item D. Okay, still under old business, we have item D, it's a mobile home park. Tim, it's a discussion.
I'll send this information to city council.
So, under old business mobile home park, we've had a couple discussions regarding the situation with the mobile home parks here in Cameron. Last we discussed, we had some travel trailers in the mobile home parks. The city was aware of it. We wanted to try to address the issue in the nicest possible way. You know, talking back with you guys, talking to you guys and talking to the board and talking to our city attorney. A mobile home park is designated for mobile homes. I think we 3 mobile home parks here in Cameron has a couple travel trailers in there. Del Buckmaster's here, he's the owner of one of the parks, has been in communication with me, actually sent a notification out to the property owners, let them know that they are violating the zoning ordinance. A couple of them have reached out to me. I told them that we are discussing it at the planning and zoning level and try to come up with a solution. I think at one of the meetings, Debbie had brought up about the aesthetics, the appearance of the travel trailers in the mobile home park. Then we also talked about a possible conditional use permit. So I talked to Patrick about what the board was suggesting regarding conditional use permit. He had mentioned or recommended that we do more of a Board of Adjustment of variance on the current travel trailers in the park. Because if you do it, he didn't get into the specifics about the conditional use permit. He did make the statement, if you do it for one, you gotta do it for all. I don't know what that meant. I didn't get a chance to follow up with him on that. But a conditional use permit, it goes, like we talked about earlier, it goes with the property. So this is a unique situation. If we would have go the conditional use permit route, if that property was to sell, then that conditional use permit is null and void. So if we go the variance route, which to the Board of Adjustment, they make their decision based on interpretation and hardship. And this, I'll just read the code before the meeting under, hardship, unique situations. This may fall up under that category. I was talking to Dale earlier before the meeting, talking about the reasoning behind zone districts and the permitted uses, and there's a time, place, and need for allowing this type of usage, and this. I think the city is willing to work with the property owners, but we want to make sure we do it right. So I would say Patrick's recommendation is to do like a variance to the Board of Adjustment to allow them, the existing travel trailers to remain in the park. Once those go away, there's no more travel trailers in the park.
And that would allow, with a variance, that would allow them to stay with basically the travel trailers. So if, like you said, if it was sold, like if the park was sold, then it would still stay with the travel trailer. So if it had a new owner, they would still stay there until they left.
I would.
If the variance goes with the.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, because if you're building a structure, you're asking for a variance on the setback, that person sells a property, you can't take the variance.
Yeah. Conditional use permit goes with the applicant, the variance goes with the owner.
Right. Yeah. So if we go the Board of Adjustment, the variance route, my recommendation would be to, I've already talked to Dale and other property owners, no more travel trailers in the park. The ones that are currently there, you document them. Take pictures to see, okay, this one's there. This person is living there, and that way you can sort of control it. Because if that person, if say you give them a variance and that person moves out, then they can't bring another one in. It's just for those 3 or 4 that's there. Is any questions?
Is there paper on this one, or is this just?
No, just discussion.
And is this just a blanket mobile park?
It is a permitted mobile home park with travel trailers in it.
It exists today?
Yes,
It's
correct.
theoretical.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But the owner wants to do something else later down the line?
No, it was, the city was, noticed that the travel trailers were there. One, it's not a permitted use, so we addressed the issue.
Oh, okay, that now
Yeah.
makes more sense to me,
Yeah.
what's happening. I've just never heard of an owner deciding that wants to restrict their use.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's motivation, I understand.
Yeah.
Or a reason.
And Dale Buckmaster's here. If you guys have any questions for him, or he wants to make a statement if the board allows it.
I've owned the park for 23 years. I contacted the city. How this first started with RVs is we had the pipeline crew come in and the wind turbine crew came in, and they were long-term people. They had nowhere to go. They could, they had to go to St. Joe, Bethany. There was no local place for them to be, and they were long-term. So when I contacted the city, Drew at the time, he said, yes, there wasn't a problem with it. I never realized there was an issue with it. I think even moving forward with the RV discussion I heard earlier, there really needs to be a place that somebody can be long-term. I know some people believe that living in an RV isn't a place for them to live. I can guarantee you people down in Texas and California and Arizona do that all the time. So allowing an apartment of 450 square feet is no different than living in a mobile home, an RV, a park model. They're all kind of the same requirements. I agree it's not a place for a family, but for a husband, wife, or a husband, a widower, they can survive. I mean, it's adequate to live in something like that. So my concern would be in the future, I would like to be able, I've had people in the two other ones, when you mentioned three, one of them's mine, I live in here, I live down in Parkville. So I do come up here and I stay, anywhere from 2 to 3, 4 nights a week. So it's a place for me to stay. The other two are long-term tenants, which have been there at least 1.5 to 2 years. The other one's been there 3 years. I hate to boot them out for a reason that I was told they could be there. We have never run into and tried to compete with an RV park as far as being overnighters. That's not our cup of tea. We don't want to deal with somebody that's pulling in for one night. But when somebody came in to say, I'm going to be here for my job for at least a year, maybe 2 years, that's where we got together at that time with the city, and they said it was adequate to do something like that, since they were long-term. So, first off, my protection is to the people that have been there for a couple of years. They've been good quality people, no problems out, and I would hate to ask them to be removed for something that is not my, not my concern. That's my concern. When Tim did approach me, since that point that it was brought to my attention, I received the letter. But, we strictly tell people now, it used to be, yes, we would only rent to you for long term. Now our response from my managers are, we do not rent RVs under no circumstances. So, where I asked where can they go, there is nowhere to go if you want to be long term. So.
I know, I can tell you from our last discussion at this board, there was, if I'm not mistaken, there was no intent of asking any of the tenants that have been there, like you said, to leave.
Right.
That's the reason we're trying to work something out to where they can stay till they actually do leave.
Right, correct.
Because we don't want to throw somebody out.
I kind of look at that as maybe, I don't know if that's terminology used now, grandfather clause in, or whether there needs to be a special use permit issue. Whatever, I'm willing to accommodate whatever you guys are requiring of me.
Yeah, and I think from what Tim has said, and I guess, we tried to think of different ways how we could do it. With the city attorney coming up with using a variance, that actually, it does one more thing. If the park gets sold, it actually allows those individuals to actually stay there afterwards, even though the park may be sold. If it is, okay? And you always have to think long range.
That is possible.
Could happen. So, as I see it, Tim just kind of threw that on me today, and now that I thought about it a little bit, because I didn't know what they was actually talking about at the time till I run it through my head a couple of times. But I see that would probably be the best way to go. I believe. So, I mean, if that's...
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, my noisy one. I'm thinking about the problem that he's mentioning, that there's no place for people to do that, to have a long-term stay in something like that. My husband and I lived together in a fifth wheel in a park for a long term for a while, and it's very adequate place for people to live, very comfortable at times. I wonder if you could set your definition in your mobile home park to provide for a small percentage of spaces being allowed to be used for this kind of thing, parking. If you could make that part of your conditions for a mobile home park, is that they do allow a certain percentage of the spaces to be used by travel trailer, if you want to call it that, whatever you call them, so that there would be an option for people that do have maybe a short-term employment, I'd say short-term employment in terms of it's not a permanent job, but I'm going to be here for a year or two or something, and they need to have time. If that could be something you consider to put into your proposition.
Just to answer that, I can answer that question, because this board has talked about that already, as we was discussing this particular issue. Do you take, or could you take a section and have so many lots that you designate for that? Here again, that takes a code change, that takes a zoning change. So is what we're trying to do now is basically secure those individuals that actually live in there right now, so they don't have to leave. So that's as I see it, that's our first priority, is to secure those individuals that have been living there, so they don't have to pick up and go. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step possibly might be, because we have discussed that, possibly might be taken whatever. I mean, you would have to give that to all the. I mean, we have 3 mobile home parks. Okay, so you'd have to give that opportunity to all 3 of them. So it would actually be a zoning change. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that it wouldn't be discussed or thought about, or we're done in the end, but it is a thought.
It would be a zoning change to be done.
Yes.
Recommend it be considered as a change in zoning for that kind of district.
And here's kind of some of the reason why. And I totally understand what you're talking about, because I know that there's a lot of people that go from, up north, south, Texas, Arizona, places like that, and they actually have maybe travel trailers that they park in a lot, and they stay there for years, or stay there for several years. And I would about venture to say that they have some rules and regulations on those. They just can't park them there, and that's it. Okay, so I don't know what that might be, but here's what we kind of look at. We have to look at the safety aspect of it too. On a trailer home or a double wide or whatever, those things are actually secured to the ground. Okay? They're secured to the ground. They actually have their sewer and everything hard piped to the trailer as a home. Okay, versus a travel trailer, which is not like that. A mobile home is skirted on the bottom, but a travel trailer is not. Now, I know that some of them that's out there are, okay, just because those individuals have decided that's what they wanted to do. But they aren't secured to the ground. The sewer is not like it is if it's a regular trailer home. And there's some other things that are just not the same. So let's just say we have a storm that goes through, a tornado, a heavy windstorm or something. The trailer home or the double wide has a whole lot better opportunity of staying set than that travel trailer, which is not tied down. So then we're looking at possible injury, death, or whatever. So that's something that this board has to look at when we do those things. We're looking at safety as well as other things. And I totally get, somebody that wants to come in and stay a year because they're doing work. I totally remember the pipeliners that came here, and I remember all of them being out there, and it was a place for them to stay for probably 9 months or so, whatever length of time that they was working, and it worked really well, and it was good for the community. But I do know this also, that they come to here, and they was given the okay to do what they did. Okay, they was given the okay to the park, the mobile home park. Hey, you can do that. We authorize that. And it kind of went from there to where it's at today. So yes, sir.
Yeah, and I agree with yours. But as far as, doesn't matter if they're in a long-term park or a short-term park or an overnight spot, that storm comes through, it affects them equally. So it doesn't matter if it's long-term, short-term, or whatever. So, and actually, they have more of an advantage to get away from the storm by being mobile in a fifth wheel and RV. If they're not stationary, you know, just like floods, they can pick up and they can move if they advance in the morning. So, you know, we do require our people to hard pipe hook up. We do require our people to skirt the trailers because in our situation, I pay for the water and sewer for the park, and I want freeze-ups. So we make sure, you know, they're winterized, and we don't have an issue in the wintertime. So we do treat them just like a mobile home, but we do not require them to anchor. And that may be something to address if you have that concern.
Yeah. And you know, and I you know, that's great that you do things like that, you know. But the concept is that it's not in rules and regulations, so that doesn't mean that everybody would do that. You know, it's great that you do, but we don't have that. To say, you know, it's like a storm or whatever, the RV park that we're looking at, and just what we did tonight, because you all listened to that, that's required to have a storm shelter, okay? Your new trailer parks in town are required to have a storm shelter, okay? Now, the one we're talking about here and the other two, they're under the old rule, and they weren't required to do that. I know that's all there because I did it. I put that together. I put that article together. And that was one of the things. Safety is my high priority. I think we all hear, you know, whether it be in like places like Lost State Park or just campgrounds and stuff like that, you hear it all the time in storm season. And I've been in those, and where do you go? You know, you're just kind of out there in the trees, you know, and hoping nothing happens. But anyway, hopefully we can work your situation out by going the other route, and I think we really can. And that won't be this board; it'll be a different board. And to answer your question, maybe we'll take that and look into it at a future date because we have kind of discussed that briefly. So.
Your ideas are not, there are more people than just you mentioning this. There's a wide group of people who are looking at affordable housing and what are the options and the variations of it.
Okay, Tim, let's, I think this board is,
So just,
has agreed to move that on to Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, okay. All right, I'll let them know.
Okay.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, so thank you. We'll move into new business. We have another conditional use permit for bed and breakfast at 205 North West Street. And entertain a motion to go into public hearing for conditional use permit.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're now in public hearing, Tim.
All right, again, in your package, you should have received information regarding 205 Northwest Street for a conditional use permit. Applicants are Leslie and Don Daly. The property is zoned R2, two-family residential. Staff did take the proper procedures as far as public notification, add in the paper and place a sign out in the yard. I think I did receive a call regarding the same question, what was the sign out in the yard for? Again, our inspectors did an inspection. There's some minor safety stuff that needs to be addressed, but nothing catastrophic. So they too will do a re-inspection to make sure that they address the minor safety issues. In the packet, you received the application and pictures and a brief summary of the purpose and intent of the property. This property, I believe, is 2 acres. It's about 2 acres, and the applicants, Leslie's here. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Okay. The same rules?
Yes, I can get this in ordinance form and crank it out.
So you understood what we was talking about with the rules, which was the 5 different ones. And if you didn't catch them all, Tim would be able to actually give those to you. 1 was parking, 2 was addressing, something that tells what the rules are to your bed and breakfast or your facility. And, the five, any more than five, because this is just one house for one, but let's just say you would split it off, you can't split it off into any more than five, so you have to come back here. So that are the rules that we've set for parking spaces, and knowing the property, there's plenty of parking spaces with a garage to park in if you want to, which might be a real plus. So anyway, so it fits. I know it's been posted. No one's talked to you or anything. So.
No, they just asked the question why this item's out there in the yard.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, comments, concerns for us? Okay. We understand what the conditional use permit is. You know, if it's violated, then we ask either. Tim and his crew are good. They'll follow up, make sure that everything is right. And if there's something going on, they'll let you know so you can get it corrected or whatever. Give you the chance. Once the conditional use permit goes with you. So if you decide to sell the property, for example, a new owner would have to apply, okay, because they could not continue to operate that. Okay.
And also the first and second final reading before.
Again, once this group will make a recommendation to council, the council will do it in 2 readings. It'll be the same as theirs. It'll go at the same time. It'll be the first Monday in November for the first reading, and it has to be read 2 times. It'll be read on the 3rd Monday of November for final. So you wouldn't be able to, rent it out or anything of that nature until you get the final authority from Tim. Tim will let you know once it's completed. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I entertain a motion from the board to close public hearing.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We're now on the public hearing. I'd entertain a motion to make a recommendation to City Council for bed and breakfast at 205 Northwest Street.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Tom. Debbie made the motion, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, been a motion to second to approve the bed and breakfast at 205 Northwest Street. Make a recommendation to City Council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. So it'll be, like I said, the first Monday of November. Okay? Thank you all for coming. Okay, the last thing on our business is going to be Bloom Medical at 2301 North Walnut Street. Tim, if you would.
All right, and you guys, just, I was contacted by Bloom Medicinal. They have 2 locations here in Cameron. One on the south end is the dispensary, and on the north end of town is the cultivation shop. One of their representatives contacted me about doing a outside grow project, and he wanted to know if the board would be on board as far as allowing an outside grow season. And I also put in the package a copy of the ordinance related to outside grow. Currently, Bloom Medicinal is not licensed to grow outside, but they will apply for a license, and that's one of the requirements in the ordinance. If they are licensed in the state, they can do it. They are, you guys should have a layout plan of the area where they want to grow, basically in front of the property. The property will be screened. It's seasonal, one time a year. Why they want to grow outside, I don't know. But the representative that I spoke with, he said they do it in other states. I think in Boston they do it. So just want to get you guys' opinion on what What you think?
I will not be supporting it.
Okay.
Any other comments? And I am going to say that right now they are not licensed. They would have to be licensed in the state of Missouri. And they don't have to go, apparently it's kind of, they just have to apply as addition to their current license, the way I read this. So, yeah, just keep in mind that have a good reason, I'm going to say just have good reasoning why you might not want to do this. That's all I'm saying.
I have good reason. You've been out there, you checked out the air quality? No.
You know, I'm going to take some of my, I'm going to take some of my direction from our city attorney, which I have not been able to talk to yet on this. As you remember, we went through this, and I'm not on either side of this right now, okay, guys? Don't, I just have to say these things to keep your heads going. But when this first came up on basically medical marijuana and then it went to recreational, but when we dealt with it in medical marijuana, the state of Missouri, the voting population voted for it. The 4-county area voted for it. It all passed, and it's under state rule. So there was only just a few things that we could govern, and if you sat on board at the time, you remember that's what we did. That's all we could do. And we was also instructed that we have to treat their business like any other business that we would treat in town. So we can't be any more restrictive on this particular business than X business down the street. So I just want to clear the air to say when you make decisions on this, because I just want to be that way.
Just fairness, and I'm open, so not a yes or no, but.
I for sure, I did make the statement, I don't like it in front of them, even if I would consider, because I haven't got all the facts yet, so I can't make that decision. But being in front of the building does not interest me at all. And I give the example because we have this, I know it's marijuana, okay, but we've actually looked at truck gardening, okay? We've done a couple of those. So whatever the board decided on those, you know, can we or can we not make these rules more harsh than we did on those applicants? Okay,
I don't
that's
care
just
if
a
it's
thought.
tomatoes, marijuana, cucumbers. I supported it, you know, the voters picked it, so we all passed, you know, what we needed to unanimously. But the smell out there is no, I will never vote for outdoor grow based off of the smell. And I think it says something in here about a normal person. I mean, I realize maybe I'm not so normal, but the bottom line is, when I go out to those businesses around that, I find that smell to be extremely offensive. And based off of smell, nothing else. I mean, if they had tomatoes that smelled like that.
Just, as all I'm saying is, just have good reasoning. That's all I'm saying, okay? We just have to have our heads clear and have good reasoning, okay? Yes or no, makes no difference which way. You have to have good reasoning why. So, and like I said, I don't agree in front, number one, and I don't agree, like you said, I don't agree putting the green beans in the front yard either. Okay, I just don't think that's the right spot to do it. You know, if you even think about it, you put the garden in the backyard. You know, but out of the way, because I think putting something in the front yard, you start to infringe upon basically the community and neighbors, that type of thing, more so than you do in the back. So that's one reason, so I wasn't hit on that.
Tim, do you know how much space they need to do this?
It should be in the document.
Have they told you?
Yeah.
Is there even enough space I think Mike's right. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to put it up front. I mean, but if we say no up front, and that's the reasoning tonight, they're gonna come back and say, well, can we put it in the back? I mean, is there room back there? Is it all asphalt?
I want to say
It's
it's,
within the existing compound, right? That's what they're asking. They're not
Yeah.
moving the fences, they're just talking about something within their compound.
No, this is outside of it. This is outside of the original fence.
It's out there moving.
Yeah, it's on the land.
Yeah,
they
it's
own.
on the
I
grass.
thought it was between the building and the fence.
No, that's all.
It's in between the road and the parking lot right now. That's where they're wanting to do it. So here on the map, so this would show, this is like the actual parking lot, and here's the old building, and then here would be the road. There'd be Walnut.
It's on that horseshoe. It's in
Yeah.
front of that horseshoe from the highway.
But even if it's in the back, the smell doesn't change, and it says, no odors shall be detectable by a person with a normal sense of smell outside the boundary of the parcel on which the facility is located. That's all it does for me, right? I feel like I have a normal sense of smell.
dimensions from them. I have to say,
My only reason why I'm asking is if we say no to this, I mean, I'm indifferent one way or the other, right? I just want to make sure that we cover all of our ground. If we're going to say no to it, then is it because of this? And then they say, well, we can put it in the back. But I've never even been in the back of the property either, so I don't know if it's all asphalt, concrete.
I mean, it's pretty, it's green space back there. I want to say it's a big lot.
I would guess they have more green spaces back there.
If I'm drawing it, I wouldn't draw it on concrete or anything else, I wouldn't use.
And I asked,
It just doesn't make any sense for it to be up front anyway,
Yeah.
next to the road. I mean, that's not the image of, that's just, not so much the image, but it just doesn't make any sense for the whole layout of the whole district there.
and I asked the same question about the smell, and, his response was, it's more concentrated on the inside as it is on the outside. Like me, when I go to Walmart or Dollar Tree, I don't smell nothing. I mean, that's just
I
me.
don't do it to this.
I work at BTC Bank, I
Uh-huh.
work at Walmart, and we smell it.
You smell it? I mean,
Some days are
You
worse.
go home, feel like you could
I
drive
mean,
straight
you
line.
can work inside and just sending the drawer out,
Uh-huh.
bringing the transaction back in, you bring the smell back in.
Is that from the growing or is that from across the street?
it's from the whole operation.
No, well, the location that she's talking about is opposite the retail. And what we're talking about is the growing side, aren't we?
I'm
Yeah,
at the EDC by Walmart.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
at
by
the
Walmart,
Yeah.
good, oh, good,
She's
good,
talking about
thank you.
this particular facility.
That's what, I was wondering where the.
Yeah, no, I'm out by
Yeah,
Walmart.
no, I
That
totally got it,
location.
yeah, thank you.
And remember that project, there's a phase 1, so there's a phase 2 as well. They haven't done phase 2 yet. So,
Yeah, and because I read that.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing more and more, and I can't smell anything anymore at all. But just because that's just normal, but I believe what people tell me, So that is an ordinance, and that might be something that needs to be addressed.
and he wants me to notify him how this meeting went. So I wrote down my notes, the location was a concern and the smell, and see what,
Well, these aren't votes, these are just indications.
yeah.
And I don't know, because I don't know anything about it, I'm just thinking here. I don't know if the odor comes from the growing or if the odor comes from them actually processing it. I don't know how that works. I have no clue.
I
At
think
the end of
they're-
the day, it just,
It stinks either way.
I've got
Just-
picture of
just-
my
just
unit
anyway.
that's outside my
Okay.
house. You can smell it.
Oh, great.
You walk out my back door and it's not mine, it's my husband's.
yeah, I had a friend that actually
And
worked
I told him
in
to get rid of it, he go, we got to live on golf course. You smell like those, you
I
smell
didn't know that there was a smell issue.
Yeah, I didn't get it, so I feel like they just.
Yeah, like, okay,
This is probably going the exact opposite way of what they wanted it to go. How do we address that?
So my question is, if they get a license, they apply for a license through the state, and they're granted a license, and they come back before the board, it goes back to what you said earlier, the board must have a good enough reason to say.
Well, I think it's clear that the issue, at least coming up, surfacing, is the odor.
Yeah, and
So
even in
I
their
think-
own outline, they're not staying true to it, but it's not, they're saying that you can't smell it, but everybody can. So, I mean, it's not like we're just, trying to be, hey, if we don't like the marijuana, we're doing it, well, we can smell it, and you're
I
saying
think
that
that's
we
fair
can't. So
feedback.
I think it's, we'd probably say no.
I would say, just from listening tonight, there's only a 50-50 chance at the most, honestly, from the board. I think I can honestly say that. But however, if they come to the board and get that permission or not, it's going to be, we're going to have to sit here, and it's not in our personal view of what we think. We're going to have to use the rules and regulations and make a decision based upon that, and make fair judgment. Okay.
Would you say that?
And I'm not saying that we aren't talking about fair judgment. I'm just saying that it's got to be fair judgment.
We voted to, we took care of everything that when they were coming in, we supported what the voters wanted. And I'm still supporting it, but it talks about the smell.
And I do think maybe because it is in our ordinance under item G and it says all marijuana facilities should install an operating ventilation system that will prevent any odor or marijuana from leaving the premises of the business. So at this point, they're violating the ordinance. Okay, so I got to think there's some kind of a system that actually collects that and filters it. Maybe it's not working properly, or they don't have the proper stuff.
That can be done. I mean,
Yeah, it's no different. It's no different than an elevator taking care of the dust or that type of thing. So,
All farms.
yeah. So, here again, 50-50 chance at the most, which is even. But I do think, and it's not here that I've just heard that people and odor complaints. That's probably something the city needs to check into.
Yeah, I'll pull those, that PowerPoint slide that Patrick provided us. You remember when we went down to Independence and we took that class on the building codes?
Yeah.
I'll look at the building codes too, regarding ventilation.
Yeah, and because, sometimes, and I'm not standing up for them either, but sometimes when you work somewhere, you just get used to it, and you really just don't know it until somebody points it out to you.
It's no different than working in a restaurant or a bakeries.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's me. Where I work all day long, I just get used to it and never notice it, But somebody else does.
She knows it.
Yeah, no, you do. I'm gonna move. That's right. Anyway, that's about the only way I know to tell, to make that, have that answer. But I would highly stress that from here, the front yard is probably could be no.
Okay.
And that's pretty, I think the reasoning behind that not only goes for this particular thing, it goes for everything else. It goes for a residence, it goes for another commercial property or whatever. No, don't put it in your front yard.
And plus it's also a CMP district, so.
Yeah. And it's commercial.
Yeah.
And so, not in the front yard or not in my front yard. And that's pretty consistent. I think even standing right now, we can say that is consistent, not in our front yard.
Okay.
From as far as building something there. We don't let somebody put their shed in the front yard.
No.
No, it has to go in the backyard. Yeah. So, the other thing, if they do decide to, number one, they're going to have to upgrade their license. But the second thing is, if they bring it back to us, they better bring back a better map than this.
Yeah, I could have printed off, like I was pressed for time, I could have printed off on a bigger sheet of paper, so.
But anyway, but if they do, this board will look at it.
Okay,
There is no doubt.
all right.
That is our job to do. And sometimes it's difficult. So,
It'd be another packed room.
as long as we can justify our answers, yes or no, that's all I ask.
Yeah. We probably have this meeting, the next meeting at the community center in the parking lot.
Yeah. Okay, anything else for us, Tim?
We did have our dangerous building hearing for 112 East 3rd Street. Judge Tracy Fan, she was the presiding judge that heard the case. The city basically stated their case regarding the dangerous building. Michael Williams did appear and gave his testimony regarding the dangerous building hearing. The judge did rule in our favor. We got the findings and facts back from that hearing. The city is moving forward, waiting for the judge to get the approval from the judge to move it forward. I think the city's going to possibly allow some time for him to either come up with a plan of action, meaning you got to get structural engineer plans to the city to repair it. If he fails to do so, then the city will move forward as far as having that property demo on the property. So.
What kind of time are they gonna give him? I mean, poor Farmer State Bank doesn't even have any parking.
Well, my staff recommendation was 60 days to come up with something. It's the same that, it's a little bit more time than we did for Chestnut Arms, but we've been dealing with this situation for over 2 years, so I figure the timing, to engage an engineer to come up with plans, we thought 60 days was sufficient. So. Other than that, we've been busy and, ready for the winter.
Definitely.
No.
Okay. Just real quick, I keep you guys updated that the Highway 36, that Griffin CID now have the agreement back from MoDOT. The city attorney submitted the ordinance, and I'll be talking to council coming up at the end of the month to get that approved, so we can keep moving on it. Construction still is looking at 2025. So I'll be able to see that completed. It's been a long process out there. So,
You'll be here before you know it.
and I know,
Time flies.
but at least maybe we'll see those improvements and get that done. So
Any update on Enzyme? What's happening there?
that is permanently closed. Inside Trace and 36 Highway is permanently closed. Unless the city comes up with some way of doing that, which they aren't. It would be actually the city's responsible for that. The plan, the long range plan, and it's already been drawn. The long range plan for that is an overpass to the west of Ensign Trace, somewhere around Reservoir Road, with an overpass, outer roads, and the road going all the way to a highway, just this way, this side of the airport. So that's a lot of money, and probably take a lot of years to ever make it happen. So, but there is a long. It was done with the TEEP grant back probably 5 or 6 years ago. So, anyway, other than that, that's it. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.